wanted to react to my guy, Casual Geographic. If you don't know who Casual Geographic is, you have to check out his videos. He's like one of the most informative but funny dudes when it comes to just telling you fun facts about animals, fun facts about different science related things, mostly related to the animal kingdom, but very informative and also just a great watch. Why capybaras are so chill all the time?
Hold on, I made this
Why is
joke
this nigga
already.
just gliding?
How you doing? Fantastic. I hope you have a good day. Hope you have a better week. I hope your month is full of successful days and a lot of great ventures. I hope you just come up, brother. You smell great. You smell great.
Like, look at them. Look at them. Look at them. You telling me a capybara ain't really just capybaras are just always faded. They just high on life though. Not on drugs. Just on life. Just always happy. Always chill. Like ain't nothing bad
Oh, the
about
capybara.
capybaras. But
One
them
of the
niggas
most
ugly.
memeable animals to be added to Earth's roster.
Them
Almost
niggas are
entirely for
ugly.
their sheer positivity.
That
It's
what
not like that
Baidu
fake
is based
positivity
off
from
of?
animals like dolphins or performative activists on TikTok. Capybaras are legitimately unproblematic, almost too much for their own good. The thing is, they have no reason to be like this. In fact, they have every excuse to be the exact 180.
Yeah,
but first,
like-
let's talk about what this aquatic stress ball is. It's a rodent, and pretty much a plus-size guinea pig since that's their closest relative, even though they're like 60 times heavier. Also, guinea pigs are one of the few mammals that can get folded by deep water since they can't swim, which is something cappies know nothing about since half their personality stays in the water with them. Just like their cousins the nutria, which is basically just a beaver you've never heard of, and the pacarana, who's probably
What
most
the
famous
hell
for
is
getting
that?
abused with soap like a banned Old Spice ad. But out of all rodents, capybara are the heaviest and the ones closest to the weight class of a grown man. And considering how people feel about their cousins 100 times smaller, you would think the capybara would be the most hated oxygen sink on the planet. But the only thing more ironic than the fact that it's the complete opposite is the fact that this chunky chinchilla is so chill since history shows they should really be the polar opposite. Usually when something's this unbothered, it's because they've never felt any kind of pressure from predators. It's why the quokkas on Rottnest Island have no fear of humans since they have no natural predators.
So cute.
Capybara, on the other hand, have more ops than a rapper with a RICO charge. These gigagerbils have to avoid being discharged from the population by the biggest big cat in North America, a discount store brand crocodile, and a paraplegic Jurassic understudy. Their childhood isn't any easier, because juveniles can get caught up with ocelots, a paralysis demon with wings, and technically pelicans don't count, but it's not for a lack of trying. And normally an animal that has to share an area code with this many threats to its way of life compensates by becoming a problem itself. For example, if zebras had a stripe for everything with the ability to bury them, they wouldn't have a single pixel of pale on them. And we all know those TV static stallions ride that excuse like they get tax breaks
Dead.
from it. It just
That's
makes
crazy.
more sense for a prey animal to be more willing to throw down. Predators get active to eat. Prey animals fight to live. But what doesn't make sense is a capybara doing the mannequin challenge 7 years late when there's a homicidal vice grip out looking for calories. It's kind of like honey badgers and capybaras are two ends of the
thought
nihilism
process
spectrum.
there?
You got the four-legged assault Oreo who doesn't value anyone's life, not even its own, and then there's a hippo hamster who can't be physically bothered enough to care. And you would think this mentality would have gotten a cappy written out of the series of Life by Evolution. Or maybe they have the opposite of the kangaroo situation. The kangaroo situation is that kangaroos used to have to deal with some of the most cartoonishly absurd predators the world had ever seen.
Yeah,
Stuff like a
man.
23-foot Komodo
Jesus
dragon or the
Christ.
marsupial lion Thylacleo. That prehistoric PTSD means that even though kangaroos today have to deal with 0 apex land predators, they still act like they're in the trenches. So it's possible capybaras had few natural predators coming up, and now they're Helen Keller to all forms of conflict. Believe it or not, capybaras weren't always the brolic beavers we know them as. Their ancestors were actually small rodents that evolved from Africa about 80 million years ago. Being small was lit because 1, it's a whole lot easier to hide, and number
Right.
2, eventually you get so small that putting you on a plane isn't worth the energy it would take to catch you. And when their ancestors pulled up to South America 40 million years later, they showed up to an area with few natural predators and plenty of food in the forms
That's
of
not
the
a
grasses they
capybara,
like
is
to
it?
eat.
That's
Scientists now
huge.
say that it was the lack of predatory pressure that allowed this plus-size rabbit pig to grow to the size it is today. That and apparently
Holy
capybaras
crap.
have a special form of insulin that's actually better at getting cells to divide and grow. In non-AP biology terms, because I never took that class, this meant that cappies were able to exceed their weight limits without also increasing their chances of getting clapped by cancer. But of course, nature always catches up, and it wasn't like the capybara was tanky enough to disregard danger like manatees are. And in the messed up Uno reverse, becoming a literal Mighty Mouse meant the capybara was now much more attracted to predators than it would have been if it would have stayed the same size pre-bulk. So it's pretty much like cappies today have to pay for how good their ancestors had it. Like Gen Z. It's also possible that the capybara isn't as easygoing as memes wants you to think it is. They live in groups, and each group has a dominant alpha male who gets the most food and female validation, which can lead to a lot of infighting in the cappy clan. And no
That's
matter
just
how hard the
every
alpha
animal
male tries to
kingdom.
flex, there's always going to be a few subordinates that get it in behind his back with his women. So even though the dominant alpha male lays more pipe than any single subordinate, a majority of the plumbing actually comes from the subordinates as a whole. The females also get a say in the matter too, mostly because if a female ain't feeling a certain male, she dubs him by nosediving into the nearest body of water, where she can hold her breath for up to 5 minutes. There's actually a lot of drama in the cabbie community if you pay attention long enough. It's definitely not like bonobos, who seem to have all social structure figured out, albeit for R-rated, definitely not safe for work reasons. That still doesn't explain why capybaras are so chill around animals not even in the same species. Like take Cheesecake, for example. Cheesecake was a capybara who was
Oh,
rescued and sent to live in a refuge for neglected and abused animals. But since she was only a baby at the time, she spent a lot of time living with the sanctuary's founder alongside her many dogs. And in typical cabbie fashion, Cheesecake became one of the dogs, eating, sleeping, playing, and pretty much doing everything else in between with them.
that's
Eventually, she would be
adorable.
promoted to the de facto foster mom for any abandoned puppies coming through the sanctuary. She would regularly adopt a family of abandoned puppies and raise them like her own blood. She would even discipline her pups if they ever got too out of line. Cheesecake was basically a Mother Teresa for terriers and any other orphan pups. Those weren't the only animals she adopted in her time, but there's actually a really good reason why capybaras are the best rodents to leave your children with, and why they're the polar opposite of Chuck E. Cheese. Something
Why?
about that cheddar feed never really sat right
Yo,
with me. Capybaras do this thing called alloparenting, where the adults take turns watching over the babies in a group in this kind of like revolving daycare system. They'll even go as far as
okay.
nursing pups that aren't even theirs. Pray for bro on the
What?
left. He going through some stuff none of us can comprehend right now. The benefit is that in a jungle full of EDP-sized threats to minors, this actually increases the cabbie pup's chances of actually surviving long enough to celebrate their birthday. But it also means that Cheesecake wasn't just a stepmother. She was the mother that stepped up. Also, I just want to say that the
Yeah.
same sanctuary would end up getting another capybara named Cobbler, and now Cheesecake and Cobbler are homies, and I feel like we
Hey,
should just take some time to
yo.
appreciate that. Another
That's
thing to
fire.
appreciate is that plenty of other animals like monkeys or painted dogs do the whole alloparenting thing, but cabbies are the only rodents that do it. Well, actually, technically not really. Turns out red squirrels will adopt orphans as long as they're somewhat closely enough related to them. But that's not the
Okay.
same as having a built-in nursery system in the group. So it seems that being naturally social, being as swole as they are, and having literal stepmother software in their system is what makes this He-Man hamster what it is. Capybaras got so much clout that even though they're truly native to South America,
Capybaras, bro. The more that I'm learning, thank you so much, Casual Geographic. The more that I'm learning, they might be like the coolest animal out there, bro. I'm not gonna hold you like that. Coolest in terms of like chillest. The coolest in terms of just like the coolest. I'm gonna have to give that to what's like the most. What's the coolest animal? I don't even know. I would have to say probably the tiger. Yeah, probably the tiger. Probably one of is the coolest animal out there, or like the giant squid. That might be one of the coolest animals out there. But capybaras, they're the chillest animals, bro. Like hands down, chillest animals for sure. Like it's not even close. There's no comparison
they
there.
have a pretty sizable fan base all over, but especially in Japan. Why Japan? Well, it all started in the Izushaboten Zoo in 1982. A worker was cleaning out an enclosure with hot water when he turned around and realized that all the capybara were huddled around a warm puddle that had formed. The worker said bet, or whatever the equivalent in Japanese would be, and ever since the
Better.
Izu Shaboten Zoo would create these traditional hot yuzu baths for the water-loving hippo hamsters to enjoy, which
They
is the
do
entire
hot
backstory as to
baths.
how this video exists. And because
No
whatever
way.
capybara received, they give back tenfold, these videos going viral single-handedly brought in thousands, hundreds of thousands, and even millions of yen in revenue, all from people wanting to see them. Meaning it is scientifically proven, 100% non-refutable, that capybaras are good for the economy. If your country is currently in a recession, think to the last time you saw a capybara hot tub party. If you can't remember, then I think you found your problem. We don't need stimulus checks, we need more happy cabbies per capita. That's why there are entire websites dedicated to finding the closest capybara in your area. So
No
if I ever post a
way.
picture of me and a capybara with no context, this is the context.
There's
Capybaras are
no-
such an unlimited
there's
serotonin hack
no-
that naturally people are gonna
There's
ask
no,
if they're
hold on. There's nah, I can stay at the screen. I'm just gonna enlarge it. There's no way that that's actually real. You're telling me so capybaras just naturally give people dopamine? Nah, I don't believe that. Hold on. I don't believe that. Cause that's unreal. Sorry, I'm just adjusting thing here. Okay. So capybaras naturally give dopamine and they're good for the economy, bro. They're they make us money and make us happy. What else do we need? Obviously the answer is capybaras. Why? Where's the nearest capybara to me? I want a capybara.
Good pets?
Wi-Fi.
And my answer is, yeah, they'd probably be good pets. Question is, would you be a good owner? Here's why you probably wouldn't. One is that they poop. A lot. They kind of have the panda problem where they eat things that don't give them a whole lot back, so to compensate they eat a whole lot more of it, which means they seem to drop deuces at will. You might not get to notice just how much because capybara also take part in coprophagia, which in NICE 2023 YouTube guidelines terms means to eat food twice to get all the nutrients out of it. And if you can handle watching this infinite food glitch in action, there's the fact that you have to feed them in the first place. Remember, we're talking about a gerbil that can weigh as much as you, but you're not just feeding one cappy. Since they're social animals that don't do well alone, you'd have to adopt a buddy for him or even another one after that. Cause two's company, but three's a party. And no self-respecting cappy would hop out at the after party with an entourage of one. All jokes aside, that same logic is why Switzerland considers a guinea pig a victim of abuse if it has to live alone. It's really not that different for a guinea pig. Guinea pig. I should have used that from the beginning. There's also the fact that since half their life involves water, you're gonna have to have 24-hour access to anything the capybara can at least wade in. And before you say bathtub, just remember that most of their backdoor business happens while they're in the water, so you might want to rethink that. But the best reason why you might want to hold off on adopting a walking coconut, it's still a wild animal. Don't let the memes get it twisted. Despite all the hype, they're still very much capable of inflicting violence when they want to, or when they feel like they need to. And I'm gonna just say, it's real cute until you get it mad and you realize you now have a 150-pound rodent with an overbite coming at you. In fact, in 2005, a capybara in a Japanese zoo murked a spider monkey that was standing in its pool by grabbing it by the neck. So if you're considering adopting a biting, pooping, eating machine, you might be better off just having kids, because only one of them can give you tax credits. Or you can just move to Tigre, Argentina, because the South American city has been taken over. And when I say taken over, I mean that in the most passive way possible. With fires and an unusually cold winter killing their food supply, the Cappy clan seen the spawn en masse inside the Argentinian gated community. They quite literally pulled up. The upside? Free lawn control. The downside is these deer rabbits marrying the problems of the two animals in one package. They destroy gardens and leave behind Hershey kisses, while also becoming a danger to everyone on the road. There have also been reports of capybara running fades with pet dogs, although to be fair, the dogs probably started it. But there is another bright side if you want to look at it that way. The biggest threat to a capybara isn't a jaguar or a caiman. It's actually humans who have historically hunted them for their meat and for their hide to turn into leather. We're their biggest threat by far, and if they decide to take back what's theirs, I'm not going to be mad at it. And the fact that they're doing it to a gated, rich community, there's a moral in there somewhere. But that's going to do it for this video. For more consistent uploads, be sure to check out my TikTok and Instagram.
Yo, shout out Casual Geographic, man. Shout out, hold on, right here. Shout out capybaras, dog. You might be ugly as hell, and you might be closely related to rats. However, you're a net positive. You're just like Tate, you're a net positive. But that would see, that's why I picked that. That's why I picked that. It sort of mellowed me out. The 30 push-ups had my blood like pumping. My veins are like popping out of my arm. That gave me a nice little 10 minutes to just relax and chill. And even looking at them, even just looking at the capybaras gave me a dopamine burst. So shout out to capybaras, shout out to Casual Geographic, shout out to you guys, whoever's watching.